I mean, a blog is exciting. Sharing videos is exciting, but voice, that's like a whole different. That's a whole different ball game. This is awesome.
Y'all hear me? Right. It seems like that it's establishing a P2P connection with everyone. So it seems like everyone needs to establish a connection with everyone else, which means that some people may have more issues than others. Um, so yeah. Um, I don't know what's going on, but both of my machines will no longer load OBS Studio for some reason. So that's a new thing that just happened as of this week. So I will not be able to record. Okay. Um, I mean, is this better than Discord or what? Like, do you think we should stay here or?
Hell yeah, dude. Hell, are you fucking kidding me?
Okay, all right. No, it's not running on QDN, guys. This is literally just a server that I run. I put this up to be a basically have the functionality that we need while Qortal doesn't have it, right? So, you guys, I make this available to anyone who wants to have an account here. It has a bunch of other functionality too, project management, file sync and storage, all kinds of cool stuff, but it is not built on Qortal. So we will be building stuff like this on Qortal in the future, but yeah, not yet, right? We don't have the streaming stuff done for Qortal yet, and that's going to take a little bit of effort to complete. So, anyways, I think we can basically start. I am kind of annoyed about OBS. I have no idea what's going on there, but it is what it is, I guess. I can't even get it to load at all, so it's really strange. I haven't had that happen before. Not sure what's going on with that. Um, but anyways, how's everybody doing? That good, huh? Wow. All right. Let's see. I'm seeing if I can try to fix this because I need to be able to record at some point.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. It's saying that my graphics driver, but I'm like, it was
Can you hear
working
me?
last week. Yeah, I can hear you. Just so you know, when you connect, it takes a minute to connect to everyone because there are 22 people and it establishes P2P connections with everyone so that you can hear them all. So it'll take a second for you get connected to everyone. But yeah, it seems to be working for most people anyway. Let's see. There are no settings here. Weird. Yeah, I'm gonna have to figure out what's going on with my OBS on both machines. So it must be something to do with Ubuntu 22 or something. I don't know. All right. I think we'll probably just get started since we were already like 20 minutes behind now. If anyone wants to talk, there is the raise hand thing. That might be good to use since we do have quite a few people. Or just start talking is fine too. And if we overtalk each other, then it is what it is. Looks like Lepav is having some connection issues there, but we'll just probably just get started anyway. And you said we've got a recording going, right? Someone said they were recording, right? Y'all can still hear me, right? Okay. All right. So yeah, what we've been doing lately is still adding a bunch of functionality to Qblog. So you guys, I think you're going to be really, really excited about Qblog. I actually uploaded. Let me get a link for that. So I actually uploaded a copy of the last video for the think tank on the test net, so you guys can see that if you want. Um, let me get the link for it real quick. I had it up on my other computer, but then I moved. So um, this stuff is going to be, so we're basically completely re-envisioning what a blog is. You guys are going to be like mind blown by what we've got already, and the only thing is it's not themed yet, so it doesn't look pretty yet. But the Qblog functionality is freaking awesome. So this here is a link to the post that I made about the last recording of this think tank. You can check that out. That's actually published on the Qortal testnet. So we do have a live public testnet. And I have a gateway, as you can see, set up for that as well. So you can see some of the stuff that we're building there. Like I said, Qblog is not themed yet or made pretty yet or fully designed yet, but the functionality is all there. So the idea is that we will have Qblog functioning as both a typical blog platform, something like Medium, right? Where you can just go, you can make a new post really easily. You can, attach, pictures, videos, music, whatever you want to it. Have your whole post structured just like a normal blog. So you're good there. Then we also have another editor. So instead of using the basic editor, you can use what we're calling the builder editor. And this is basically a drag and drop web builder. So you can add a text block and you can throw that anywhere you want on the page. You can add a picture block. You can throw that anywhere you want on the page and so forth. So um, in the future, we will be able to use this as an actual web builder. And Philip has been doing amazing work on Qblog. I am super stoked about it. I think we're going to basically have replacements for Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, uh, Reddit, all of this stuff all in one. It's going to be really exciting. I think this will lead to a lot more, I guess, not engagement, but I get engagement too, but also like retaining users, right? So I think one of the main things that we're running into that's an issue is, we get people, they love the concept, but they don't truly understand like what the actual functionality can be in the future, right? And it takes, like either a developer or someone who can really see like what we have now and what is potentially possible with it in order to really understand, right? So but once we have the Q apps functionality on the mainnet, then people will immediately be able to see demos of things that are built utilizing this technology. And I think that that's going to be a major turning point for the platform. It's going to allow people to have something to quote unquote do inside of the Qortal UI, right? Like you'll be able to establish your whole social media network inside of the Qortal UI. And of course, as we get further along, it will get better and better. Like, so I am really, really stoked, even with the initial iteration of Q apps, which will be just the very basic functionality of Q apps. But that basic functionality is a lot more than what even I expected, right? So it is going to be really, really fun. I am already having a lot of fun with it on the test net, and I cannot wait until this goes live on the main net. Now, obviously, we're going to put this initial version live. We're going to see how it goes, and then we'll make improvements from there, like we've done with everything else. We are right now just getting through making sure the initial functionality works, making sure that everything is as good as it can be, making sure that the design is finished and that it's going to be super straightforward and simple to use and so forth. But we are very close. I can't really estimate exact completion times because we don't really know until it's done, right? So, but we are very close. All of the functionality is there. Both the regular web builder or the regular blog post editor and the web builder editor are both there and live now on the testnet. As you can see, videos are totally possible. I haven't shown a link yet with audio files, but this is really cool too. So you'll actually be able to publish a post with however many audio files you like. Then you'll have a built-in audio player that we're planning on making that audio player be able to be sticky so that it can stick to the Qortal UI and you can go to QChat or whatever, use the market, whatever else you want to do, browse other websites or other Q apps while still playing the music that's playing from the playlist on the blog post that you started with, right? So it's really, really cool. We've got the audio player already built there. So you can publish audio files and it plays them in a playlist. It's built in. We have the video player, and that's also going to be able to do like picture in picture. So you can browse other things inside the Qortal UI while you're watching a video from a blog post. Same thing with QTube. I haven't talked a whole lot about QTube yet because that hasn't been the focus of development recently, but it is prettier looking right now than Qblog is because Qblog hasn't had its styling yet. But the really cool part I think about QTube is that you're not only able to watch videos, you're also able to download them. So this eliminates people needing a secondary tool in order to download videos that they watch on YouTube and so forth. So I think that's going to be really cool. And I know that Lutz is going to be excited about that because he'll be able to share whatever videos he wants and others will be able to download them simply by going to the video QTube player. So yeah, it's going to be really, really cool. I am like extremely stoked because like I said, we are basically re-envisioning what a blog is, and what people don't seem to realize, I think, is that a blog is basically what Facebook is. It's basically what YouTube is at the base level, right? Like all of these platforms, they're all just blog platforms. They allow people to make posts. They allow people to comment on those posts. They allow, published pictures and videos and so forth, right? It's the exact same thing. So at the base level, basically every social media platform is essentially a blog. And with the functionality that we're adding to Qblog, it's going to be a lot more than even things like Facebook and these other social media platforms could do. Right? It's crazy. So you'll be able to actually have a post with a menu on the left side where you'll be able to set links to other posts or websites or whatever, and you'll be able to build a full web presence with Qblog. So it's pretty awesome. I am super stoked about it. This is going to be, I think, a really solid turning point for Qortal. I think that people are going to now start utilizing it for a lot more. Like, most people will come in, they'll use, QChat randomly. It takes a while if you don't have a coin in your account, so that turns people off. And there were a lot of things that we just don't retain people as well as we should be able to because they have to right now be able to see a little bit into the future. Now, when we have these demos, it's over, guys. Like we could do things that no other platform can do. And not only that, it'll allow other developers to pick up and start developing on top of Qortal's infrastructure. So it's going to be absolutely incredible. I am super, super stoked about it. What we do need from the community now, if any of you are interested in doing so, we need more people to run what are called data supernodes. And we need more people to make sure that they have port forwarding set up on their node so that more people can connect in to your node. So what we need from the community is to ensure that everyone has port forwarding who can, right? I also have some options. I can't provide this for everyone, but if you have a situation where you're behind a firewall and you have no way to allow incoming connections, but you want to run a node and you want to allow incoming connections, I can set up a proxy for you. That's not like an ideal solution, but it is something I've done for a couple others, and it has helped them significantly in getting more connections and allowing incoming connections. So if anyone's interested in that, I can allow that to take place by setting you up with a proxy that I run, and you can get incoming connections that way. So if you're interested in that, let me know. Also, anyone who can run a data supernode. Now, this just means that you will store all of the data on QDN. Now, remember that no matter what gets published on QDN, all of that data is encrypted and chunked when it's stored. The only way that that data is not encrypted and chunked is if you actually click it to view it. Then it actually gets built, decrypted, and displayed to you, or well, decrypted, built, then displayed to you, right? So you don't have to worry about what anyone else could potentially publish. As long as you don't view it, that data is not going to be in a viewable form, right? So running a data supernode is not quote unquote risky, right? So I think the more data supernodes that we have, the better it's going to be for everything that's built on top of Qortal, whether it's a website or a Q app or just published content on the Q app, going to be able to get to people faster. The way you do that, I will send a setting that you can add to settings.json. So let me type that out real quick. It's just storage policy, so lowercase storage, capital policy, in quotes, colon, quote, capital ALL, like this. Hopefully the code block works. Nope, it doesn't. Okay, so I'll have to edit that. But yeah, so storage policy all. If you set storage policy all in your settings.json, then your node becomes what is called a data supernode. And a data supernode is just a node that stores every bit of data on QDN. Now, since QDN right now is not very big, we can have quite a few data supernodes and it won't be a problem, right? Like now, as time goes on, and of course, there's more and more that gets published to QDN, you'll have to watch and either increase the data that's available on your server, your node, or not be a data supernode at some point, right? But right now, the more data supernodes we have, the better. And it's quite simple to be a data supernode since the amount of data that exists is not very large at the moment. As far as the total, you know what? Let me double check because I have a data supernode running in a couple locations. So give me a second and I'll find out the answer to that. Last I checked, I think it was. Do you remember, quick? Do you remember how much data is on QDN right now? Find out just a second. Which I think it was this one. Yeah, I'll find out just a sec. But yeah, we need as many data supernodes as possible, guys, because that is going to be pretty essential, especially in the early days before we get the ability to fuck. I lost my train of thought. Sorry, I'm trying to type at the same time. It's not very easy. Okay, so right now my data folder on a node that I have set this way is 7.9 gigabytes. So it's still extremely small, guys. So you can easily become a data supernode and probably for quite a while without it being a problem. I do have a server in my garage that I'm planning on setting up as a data supernode that I hope to be able to keep as a data supernode for quite a while. That thing has, I think, 80 terabytes connected to it right now. So that should be able to be a data supernode for a significant period of time. But yeah, you right now can be a data supernode with as little as like 25 gigabytes, guys. So it's really like not that big of a deal, especially since we are about to implement, which is already there, right? Like we already did the work for this, but we haven't made it a default thing yet. But we're about to make the archive v2 method that will make the data on the database go down to quick. You said it was what, 2.5 gigs that you ended up with, right? I think that's what you said. 2.5 gigs, which is like incredible, right? So actually, yeah, okay, three gigabytes, guys. So instead of 30, 25 to 30, our full node database is going to 3, guys. Do you realize how huge that is? It's massive, guys. That's huge. So the ability to run a full node with 5 gigs of space and still have 2 gigs free is absolutely incredible. Like, so as our chain is getting bigger and longer and having more data, we're actually getting smaller in size thanks to our amazing developers, right? So this is like a huge thing because this is another massive issue with most blockchain networks. Like, guys, go try to run a Bitcoin full node and tell me how far you get with that, right? Like, you have to have at least 600 gigs, last I checked, to even have the full database for the Bitcoin network. Now, in my opinion, this is something that was kind of done on purpose, right? Like now I have some opinions that are, maybe not totally in the main line here, but I think that if you want people to run full nodes, right, you would put focus on making sure that running those full nodes was as simple as possible and that could be done on as many machines as possible, right? Like, so why they haven't put any focus on ensuring that, I'm not sure, right? It just kind of doesn't make sense unless they wanted the full nodes to be in the hands of people with more money, more whatever, right? Like the people who can afford to set up multiple terabytes on a server with a massive connection and whatever, right? Like, so I don't know, guys. It just seems a little odd to me, right? Like, so if we are going to be doing things the way that we are, where we actually do want every person who uses the network to run a full node, we have to put focus on things like that. So when we get Archive v2 pushed out as the primary method, that means our full node database is 3 gigs now, guys, which is so awesome. Like, you guys have no idea how awesome that thing alone is, right? So you'll be able to take the data that was previously being used for your database, your full node database, and you'll be able to turn your node into a data supernode and still use less data overall than you were just by having a full node running, right? So instead of having 30 gigs dedicated to the DB, now you have 7.9 gigs or 8 gigs to the data supernode and 3 to the DB. So that's still half the size of it was before, plus having the data supernode functionality that helps the network out a lot more, right? So I think this is massive. I think that people can immediately just turn their existing nodes into data supernodes without even using any more data as soon as we make that live. But even now, guys, it's only 8 gigs to make your node into a data supernode at this point. Now, obviously, when we launch Qblog, there's going to be a lot more taking place, right? So the data will probably grow a lot more quickly. But even if you say have, an extra 250 gig drive in your computer and you dedicate that to it, that should last quite a while. Yes, eventually you'll have to get to a point where you start picking and choosing which sites you follow, which names you follow, so forth. But For now, it's very simple, and it will help the network significantly if we have more people who enable this setting on their nodes. I plan to basically do that on every node that I'm running as soon as the V2 goes live. And before that, I'll probably do it on probably about 10 out of 18 or 20 nodes that I'm running right now. So, but the more we have, the better. And the more people that do it, as opposed to just, the people who are quote unquote on the team or whatever, the better, right? So we need this to be as distributed as possible. So every full node runner who can enable that setting, please do so. That is going to make a big difference once all this stuff goes live on the mainnet. And yeah, I am like really, really stoked about this. I think what I've been saying is this is like the main functionality of Qortal, right? So we're about to get to our main functionality, guys. This is like absolutely massive. As far as more of the stuff that will be available on the Q app's initial iteration, we will be able to do, click to pay. So you'll be able to use any supported coin, not just Qort, to click to pay or click to donate, right? We will help to build a couple payment plugins so that we can share that code with people. They can add it into their site and it'll allow them to take payments. We'll also need to build like an invoicing type thing so you can have an invoice that goes along with that and so forth. It's going to take time to have all this stuff developed, right? So, but initially we do have the functionality there to allow for payments, to allow for cross name linking, to allow for, all of the stuff to be published and viewed. We have so much functionality on the back end that it's really hard to like list it all. So what we're going to do is we're going to demo it all, right? So what you see on Qblog and what you see on QTube, all of that is going to be possible, plus a lot more. The cross name linking I'm really excited about because that will allow people to have a website that's more all encompassing. They'll be able to link to partners or whatever that are also hosted on top of QDN. So that's going to be cool. We will also be able to have the Qortal protocol links posted in QChat or on websites or whatever. So you'll be able to have Qortal : / name, website, and then file or whatever. So you can link directly to that. You can take existing things that are published on QDN and link to them. It is going to be a whole new world on Qortal, guys. I am really, 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 really excited about it. Anyone else have any topics they want me to cover or whatever? Everyone's quiet today. Even Lutz, quiet.
I think the mic doesn't work.
What? What, Mike?
Oh, you can hear me now.
Yeah.
Ah, cool.
What? Why couldn't? Were you trying to talk before? When?
Yeah, it was before, but I had to reset the mic. I guess that's what did it.
Oh.
Yeah, I was going to ask
Okay.
on the payments. Is it just going to be for Qort or for
No.
R and all the other
Yeah.
for
So the only
basically all
thing,
the supported coins?
yes, all the supported coins will be possible. So you'll be able to pay with any coin that's supported on Qortal. Yep. What you won't be able to do is like the additional functionality that the ATs bring, right? So my plan when we build a marketplace, or when
Yeah, we hear
anyone
you.
builds a marketplace, um, wait, some,
That
yeah,
was
I can hear
Lutz.
you. Yeah, I can hear you. I could until you muted yourself. I don't know. But yeah, all of the coins that are supported will be able to be used for payments initially. Yeah. The only thing that won't be able to happen with the other supported coins is things that are powered by the ATs. So crowdfund, escrow, stuff like that will not be possible. Automated payments monthly, that kind of thing, right? For stuff like that, you will have to figure out a way to do it until we can make the ATs work with other supported coins, which I think is possible, but it's not something that's really on the radar right now. So any like more in depth payment things like automated monthly payments on a schedule or payments with escrow, which I think should be built into any marketplace type application. So you can, make a payment to the escrow AT. The escrow AT will pay out enough for shipping. And then once you get the thing that you ordered, you can clear the escrow AT to pay the rest, right? So that you don't, like on systems where you can only pay in one direction, you can't be reliant upon some other entity to refund, right? So we have to have an escrow AT in the middle of these types of transactions in order to make stuff like that work as intended. So you'll have a payment that goes to the escrow AT. The escrow AT could potentially pay out enough for shipping or a certain percentage of the order amounts, and then it'll hold the rest until the buyer gets the item and then releases the funds, right? So this will also lead to us building another type of trust score based around marketplaces and so forth. So, but the other coins will not be able to use that functionality initially. So I would suggest using Court for things like marketplaces and stuff like that, because then you'll be able to take advantage of the additional functionality. Now, we don't have all of those ATs built on Qortal yet, and so we don't have the ability to launch any of those yet either. So we will as soon as we start focusing on that. But at the moment, the focus is to get Qblog and Qtube as the first two QApp demos live on the mainnet. Then we can work on the rest of it, right? So, I mean, for people accepting payments initially, I would say you probably want to structure your payment system where it, doesn't require full payment initially, unless, you can do it that way. But I mean, in order to build trust, I think it would be better to maybe take, 25% of the payment up front and then the rest of it upon delivery, just like the escrow AT would work. But you guys can figure that out on your own. That's something that we're going to have to put a little more development into, obviously. So, but yeah, the initial functionality is actually a lot more than even I expected. So you guys will see when this happens. It's going to be basically a completely new Qortal. I am going to be really, really excited about it. I'm already having so much fun on the test net that I just want to go, yay, push it live right now. But we are not quite there yet. We need to finish doing some little bug fixes and stuff like that that we're running into, and also making sure that QDN is ready for it, and getting the theming and design finished and making it look pretty, because it has to look pretty, right? So yeah, but then we'll be ready. Like, so I don't know exactly how long, but we're there. Like, the majority of the stuff is done already. It needs to be themed and made pretty, and a few little things need to be done. But I'm always letting the actual developers who are doing the work decide, you know, when this all takes place. So I'm not here sitting and going, "Oh, this needs to be done by da 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 da." No, I don't do that, and I think that's one of the reasons why I've been able to keep developers around for as long as I have in most cases, right? Because I don't try to, force them to do stuff like this on a schedule. It's not possible. If you're building something that's never been built before, you can't really say that it needs to be done by a specific date. That's stupid and just puts unnecessary pressure on the devs. So I don't do that. And I think I let them lead the way, and it's been working out quite well so far. So we're going to keep going with that method. But yeah, I mean, since we've got this live already on the test net, we're not far at all. I just want to make sure that everything is totally as good as it can be for the first iteration, and also, of course, get it out as quickly as we can. But yeah, guys, this is going to be able to rescue all kinds of people who have been kicked off of YouTube and Twitter and Faceplace and all that, right? If you've been banned from these locations, you now have an alternative. And this alternative does not cost you anything. You have one registered name, costs you 1.25 court. After that, you can let it all be free and it'll stay there indefinitely. Now, what I'm particularly excited about after we do this is we'll start focusing on adding data to groups and allowing groups to control data and so forth. So then we can do things like subscription services or websites that have both a quote unquote front end and a back end. So you can have users that are in a specific private group that see a completely different site when they go to whatever website, right? So you could have, something that allows customization on the back end that most people don't see unless they're in this specific group, or shows different videos to people or whatever, right? So it's going to be really, really cool. And at that point, that's when basically anything can be built. So that's obviously a little bit further down the line. We have to at least get the initial iteration going, see how that goes, make any adjustments that are necessary, and so forth, make sure it's all fully tested. Then we can start focusing on adding more specific functionality and adding more to what the existing stuff can actually do together. So yeah, it's going to be awesome. This is like what we've been waiting for. It feels like, for me, it feels like forever. It feels like this has been like in development forever, because I've been focused on making this happen for basically the last 10 years. And now it's finally coming to fruition to a point where it's going to be completely usable and everyone's going to be able to see why we did everything the way that we did. And I think it's going to be absolutely golden. And this is when we can really start, starting to push marketing efforts a little bit more. And that's something that we're going to start focusing on as soon as it does happen. Also, the Q chat protocol and database, which I think is not too far off either, should be coming around the same time, maybe a little bit after. So that's going to be pretty huge too. That will also allow, real-time communications between applications and so forth. So there's a lot more that we can do with that too. You could have, chat boxes built into your website or your Q blog post that's acting as a website. So there's all kinds of stuff that can be done with the existing stuff that we have. And the Q chat protocol and database is going to make it so that now Q chat can replace Discord and for everything other than what we're doing here with the voice and video and so forth. But that will also happen. I have seen in the past a serverless WebRTC setup. So that's what this is called. What we're using right here for this call, it's called WebRTC. It just stands for real-time communications, right? All it does is basically spawn a room, and when people connect to it, they connect directly to one another, right? So all of this server on the Qortal cloud is doing right here is doing what's called brokering. So it's finding the two people that want to connect and connecting them, right? So all we need to do to make that serverless is to make it so that there's no brokering in the middle. And what we can do is, with that serverless WebRTC setup, it is actually able to use a shared data location instead of connecting people directly with IP addresses, right? So I'm thinking that that's probably the best way to do it on Qortal, so that there's no IP address involved at all. And it'll allow the same things, voice, video, screen share, all that kind of stuff, right? So, and that could also make it so that people who are, not able to communicate quickly in Q chat could spawn a room like that and use that instead for communications, so that they don't have to, be reliant upon the mempow and so forth that's going on for QChat to prevent spam and whatever, right? So there's a lot more doors that'll open when this happens. Right now, the posts on Qblog are pretty much instant. So you don't really have to wait for anything to confirm or anything. It's all done with stuff that is pending. So it is pretty much an instant thing, which is really cool too. It's man, guys, I am so excited about it. Like, this is what we've been waiting for so long. So yeah, I think we're going to be able to push all kinds of marketing efforts. Speaking of that, I have, of course, Sayer G, who wants to do a big promotion for Q apps when it goes live. I have Ernest Hancock, who basically wants to use Qortal for everything. And he wants to do another video on that and start getting all of his people using Qortal for everything. Then James Corbett wants to do another video as well. Once QApps goes live and we can demo, some stuff that it can do, he wants to then start, really pushing his people to use it too. So we've got, three fairly large players who want to start doing that and pushing everyone to use Qortal. We also have, what's really cool is what I've been talking about for the last couple weeks. I think I mentioned it in both of the last meetings. So the plan was, and what we're doing now, is making it so that the UI is the only thing that you need to install, right? So you install the UI. When you run it, it'll look for the Qortal core. If it doesn't find it, it will say, would you like to download and set up the Qortal core? You say yes, and it does so. And so people will be able to get set up a lot more easily. I believe this is completed for both Windows and Linux right now. The Mac version should be done fairly soon, I think, if he's not done with it already. So that will mean that you only have to install the Qortal UI, and from there it will prompt you. If you have the Qortal core already there, it'll prompt you to start it. If you don't have it, it'll prompt you if you'd like to download and set it up. So then you just say yes, and you've got your node running, right? This, I think, will help significantly. I've had multiple people who've had issues with, keeping the core running, especially on Mac, because starting the core automatically on Mac is a lot harder than you would think. And even explaining the process to set it up to make it do it is annoying. So it's like a 12-step process just to create the ability to make it start automatically on a Mac. And so I think having the ability to do that with the UI, especially how easy it is to install the UI on a Mac, click, drag, drop, you're done, right? So then once that's there, that's all you need. And the rest is taken care of automatically. Now, of course, the initial release of that will be less than ideal because we're still using GitHub for the code and so forth. But the Git repo functionality of QDN will be coming very soon too. And I believe that once we launch the QApp stuff, we can use QDN as a location to distribute releases that then get downloaded. So we don't have to be as concerned with GitHub. Ultimately, in the longer term future, GitHub will be completely unnecessary. Then we'll just use a couple gateway nodes that are redundant, like my Qortal.link gateway, to give access to people on the internet for the first time they download things. And then once they've got Qortal set up, then they don't need to worry about it, right? Also, the light node functionality should be built into the Qortal UI as well, or bundled with it, I should say. So that you install the Qortal UI, you have light node functionality, which means you have the functionality for everything except for minting. Then you click yes to installing a full node if you want to, and you're good to go. Then you can mint. You can do everything and you can mint, right? Then we build that on mobile and we're totally good. Then we have everything, right? So we're really close to being able to make all of this stuff happen. The initial iteration of QApps is going to be coming very, very soon. That alone will be huge. I think the click to download stuff for the Qortal UI will be coming at the same time. I think it'll come in the same release. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I think so. So then onboarding new users will be much easier. We'll also be able to avoid the virus warning with the Windows installer because we will not be using the Windows installer for that. So it'll just download the jar and run it with a batch file so that we don't have to worry about the installer at all. We're probably going to also bundle Java with it so that people don't have to install Java separately. It already does that with the Windows installer, but none of the others do that. So we're looking at making all of them do that. So you literally don't have to have any dependencies for anything and just click and go, right? So we're making it as simple as possible. Now, of course, this is all going to be desktop until we get light nodes, because I don't see the point in building a mobile app that utilizes hosted nodes. So I think, I mean, you guys can chime in if you think that that's a decent plan, but I personally don't. I think that we should wait until we have the ability to do it correctly and then do it, because I don't think, doing things in any sort of like shortcut fashion is what we're known for, right? So, I mean, if you guys think it's a decent plan, then it is what it is. Maybe we could talk about it, but I personally think that we shouldn't do anything until we have the ability to do it all completely decentralized. So, anyways, I'm looking at some typing here to see if someone's asking a question. Her discussion about a reticulum, it sounds amazing. Yeah, I know, right? Almost too good to be true. Agreed. Yeah, I could not believe that it existed. I thought we were going to have to do that from scratch like we did with basically everything else. So yeah, when I saw it, I was like, holy crap, like this is literally exactly what I would have built. So wow, yeah, I was super impressed. Yeah, it seems to be automatically establishing connectivity based on whatever available method you have, that you've allowed it to use, of course. You're asking about FCC control. So my personal opinion about all of this, like, what about government this or what about government that? I'm a fan of ignoring that shit, but I don't know. It's up to you, I guess. I think that ignoring the nonsense that makes no sense to me and doing whatever I feel like doing is a better idea. But, if you're worried about it, then just don't use those bans or whatever that they say that you can't use without a license, right? Like, I don't see how they would really, like, I don't see how it would really be a problem. I don't think we're going to be using bands that are, restricted, right? It's just regular wireless and Bluetooth stuff to start with, probably. So those are, usable. So I don't see how they would tell the difference between that and a regular wireless router, just, broadcasting a signal for people to connect to. So, but yeah, I'm a fan of ignoring nonsense. So if the government comes out and says, "Yo, let's do this nonsense," I'm gonna be like, "How about we don't do that?" So I don't know how everybody else feels about this. It's totally individual thing, right? But I feel like that we can go ahead and ignore anything that doesn't make any sense, right? I don't know about the hardware I was talking about in one of the other meetings. This guy reached out to me and has this hardware that's available that does, really long range wireless connectivity at decent enough speeds that would actually be usable for Qortal. I do not know what, frequency they run. I do not know really anything else about them yet, so I can't really answer whether those are going to fall under any sort of FCC regulation, like regulatory nonsense or not. But I don't think so, because they were built to control drones and stuff like that. So I would assume that they would use quote unquote legal ways to do that. But until I get one in my hands, it's going to be hard for me to really say with 100% certainty. And anyone who's worried about, FCC regulations on whatever or whatever else, then just simply don't use whatever or whatever else, right? Like, it's really that simple if you're that worried about it. I personally am a fan of ignoring nonsense, but to each their own, right? Like, we're not here to try to force anyone to do anything. We're here to do the exact opposite and allow anyone to do whatever they feel is right. So if you feel like using whatever method that we make available is not right for you, then, that's on you, right? Yeah. Yeah, thanks. I don't know who this is. Guest. 100% ignore the regulations, mandates, and laws. Exercise your rights. Exactly, right? Let's see. And it says, this is why Qortal is so special. Rarely do people crypto talk about ignoring the government. And I find that to be completely bizarre, right? Like, I don't understand that. Like, wasn't the entire point of building technology like this to make it so that you don't have to be reliant upon the centralized shit? So why are we focused on it, guys? Like, it seems to me that since the I don't know what exactly happened, right? But it's like the corporate world decided that, oh yeah, we're gonna go play in the crypto space now, and ever since that happened, I seriously can't even get anyone to talk about anything other than regulations. Anytime I talk to any other quote unquote crypto team leader or whatever, I they're always asking me, "Oh, so what happens if this regulation happens, or what happens if this happens, or da, 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 da." And I'm like, "Why are you focused on this? How about like talk about what the platform can do and like all of that, right? Like, why are we focused on this? Oh, I know why. Because you guys have your shit built incorrectly. If you have your shit built incorrectly, then you have to worry, right? Then you have centralized components that could potentially be a problem. Now, Qortal doesn't have that, so I am not worried about it. There is one aspect, right? So the gateway nodes, which I do run the public, like the main public gateway. I don't know if anyone else has a public gateway set up right now, but I have like the main public gateway, Qortal.link, right? That gateway could potentially be something that I need to kind of stay on top of, right? Because it's registered running on a domain that I own. Yes, it's got the quote unquote domain privacy, but you really think that's actually a thing? No, I don't. So I may have to watch certain names and not allow certain names to be displayed through the gateway, but that's about it. I am really not concerned about anything else. And even the worst case, like what, they take away that domain. Oh, boohoo. Like, oh well, like fucking whatever. We may even have a link on the gateway that says, oh, like report content or something, just to help me stay on top of it, just in case, right? Like, we never know. Like, there have been plenty of people who've tried to, cause quote unquote damage to Qortal in one way or another, right? So I expect that to continue. And if you are listening right now, Mister, I love to spam everything, go ahead, keep doing it. It doesn't bother us. Every time you do, you make us stronger. So yay for you. Like, if you like wasting your entire day spamming Portal, that's on you, right? Like, have fun with that, right? But yeah, Quick says when a regulation cannot be enforced, then it really doesn't apply to anyone? Question mark. Yes, that's what I think too, right? Like, can you actually enforce most of this nonsense that you're saying, right? Like, my guess is no, right? They can't possibly put everyone in jail. So I just don't think that it's something that we should worry about. I think that we should just worry about building everything correctly, making sure that people can have their freedom and control their digital lives and not have to get stuck in a much worse version of the system that already exists that's coming, right? And we all know that it's coming. And so, I mean, I think that we just need to focus on making sure that we have the actual solutions built, and then it's up to each individual what they use those solutions for and what they feel like they should be concerned about or not, right? Like, that's really it, I think. Another guest says, how can we attract developers, build the apps on Ethereum to our platform? Who build the apps? Oh, okay. So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of an interesting question on multiple levels, right? Like, so it depends on the developer. It depends on them, right? If they are building apps on Ethereum for the right reasons, then they'll love Qortal. They'll want to build on Qortal because they'll realize it's a better platform to build on. You can do a lot more in a better way for much less fees, and it's just a better idea, right? But if they're building apps on Ethereum simply because, and this is the main reason I've heard for anyone using Ethereum, oh, the liquidity is over there. If they're building apps for that reason, then I don't think you're going to ever be able to convince them to build apps on Qortal. So yeah, and honestly, the the quote unquote smart contracts of Ethereum, I feel like are just basically nonsense. Like we've seen multiple of them already be, regulated and have issues with that and all this kind of shit. Like I just don't see it as something that's going to continue that much longer. I think that, and we also don't have to have people that are specifically building D apps to be able to build on Qortal. That's the other thing that's really cool, right? Like we don't have to focus on quote unquote blockchain developers to get them to build stuff on Qortal. We just need developers who understand JavaScript. That's it. And JavaScript is one of the most well-known languages. So any developer who knows JavaScript can come and build an app on Qortal. And that makes it a lot easier, right? Like you don't have to learn what is it, Solidity or whatever, and create a completely new language in order to build something. And our hosting is completely improved, like so much better than the methods that are utilized on things like Ethereum and Binance Smart Chain. So yeah, I mean, it's really about the individual. And yeah, it's trendy. Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm building something on Ethereum. Ooh, wow, fancy. Like, who gives a shit? Honestly, like, I'm building something on a platform that sucks. Like, yay, great. Oh, it only costs you $80 to do a single transaction on my D app. Like, ooh, wow, like fun. Like, I just don't get it at all. Like, every time I've tried to use anything on Ethereum, it has been a huge pain in the ass and it costs me way too much. So I just don't get it. I don't understand. I just don't. So yeah, I mean, we could definitely get people who are building things for the right reasons to come build things on Qortal because it'll be an easy sell, right? Like, here you go. Why don't you build on a platform that's better in every way? They're gonna say no. Okay. I mean, if that's the case and you just love Ethereum for no reason, then whatever. We're not going to change minds of those people. But people who are doing things for the right reasons should want to build on Qortal anyway, right? Once they understand it and they see the benefits and they see why, they're going to want to build here. So it's not going to be something I don't think we're going to have to worry about that much. But that being said, yeah, I mean, getting more developers is always going to be a thing. We're always going to need to, keep our eye out for new developers. But I think mostly they're going to find us, especially when we get Qblog and QTube going and all of the people who've been banned from all the centralized stuff are now using Qortal. It's going to be an easy thing for developers to just come and find us. And that's how it's like, even when we were doing like no promotion at all, developers found us. So I'm like, I think developers will find us, and I think the right people will find us. So I'm not super worried about that. Always, we're gonna need more developers, but I think as we start, rolling out the primary functionality of the platform, it's gonna be a thing where developers want to come work with us. It's not going to be something we're really going to have to sell all that much. Yeah, build it and they will come. Exactly. Yep, that's it. And so that's always been the mentality that I've had personally with this. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to do everything I can to make this happen. And when it happens, then people will see it and they'll like it. Yes, the people at first will have to be people who understand it a little bit more in depth and can, see a little bit further so they can understand where it's going and that it can actually get there. But as more time goes on, more development gets done, more demos happen, we can see more and more typical people coming and seeing the benefits of it. Now, I even have a couple friends, right? And I have one of them in particular who has been constantly questioning me, like, oh, well, why is this thing on Qortal going to be better than this centralized thing over here? What about protecting content rights? What about like all of these these topics and stuff? Like, I'm like, man, you just don't understand why centralization is bad. If you don't understand why centralization is bad, then yes, it's going to be like, why would I come use this platform over here that has less users right now and that yada da da da, right? But I think the thing is that if people have never experienced any issues at all with centralized stuff, or if they don't think that, oh, they deleted my comment is a big deal, then it's going to take a little longer for those kinds of people to really understand. And hopefully it's not going to take them, having a bunch of losses like, I have had and many others have had. Like, they've literally taken money from basically every centralized thing I've ever had, whether it's a centralized exchange, whether it's a bank, whether it's PayPal. Every single centralized thing I've ever used has stolen money from me in one way or another. So for me, it's obvious, right? But I guess, certain people, it's going to take a little longer for them to understand. But I think when we have the functionality and we show it, if they don't immediately love it, they'll love it a little later, right? Like, once they start seeing more nonsense happening, I think some of the general public is starting to wake up a little bit. But it's going to take, a little bit of time for some people to come around to understand. What was that? Were you saying something? Somebody was saying something. Yeah, anybody else, feel free to chime in or ask questions or whatever. Well, hopefully this the call here is better. I don't know how many people right now are here from Telegram, but I think it's better to have something that's platform independent. And now, obviously, when we get something like this built on top of Qortal, it'll be the ultimate solution. But for now, I think this is a decent option. 23 people connected to the call right now, which is way more than I've ever had in a call here before, and it seems to be working fairly well. At least I think everyone can hear me. It seems like everyone can. So
now I
yeah.
can. It was terrible like half an hour ago. I couldn't connect for some reason.
Yeah. So I think it's because you literally have to connect P2P to every single person in the call, right? Because it's not like hosting the room. It's just facilitating connections between everyone else. So it's a little different, right? But yeah, I mean, hopefully it is something that we can use, at least for now. We will have a solution for this on Qortal in the future, right? So, but for now, I think it's decent. Yeah.
It's good for now.
Nice. Okay, good. Let's see. Yeah. Yep. Okay. Oh yeah, even wrapped court with a bridge onto Ethereum. Yeah, right. No, I don't. No, that's my answer to that. But if somebody does it, it's on them, right? Like, I'm not saying it can't be done, but yeah, no, I don't see the point. Yeah. But anyways, I don't know what else to talk about. I'm just totally focused on Q apps right now and getting that out to the mainnet. It should be really soon, guys. Like, we are not far at all, and I'm really excited about that. Anybody who has friends who have jumped into Qortal a while back and then left because they can't do anything with it or whatever, get their attention, because they're about to be able to do a whole lot with it. Get more people looking at it again. And I'm going to be doing the same thing with some of the groups that I've talked with before, getting more calls going too. I want also anybody with connections to larger, podcasters or whatever, who can actually get a direct connection between myself and them. Please do so, because we need to get the word out further. Anybody who's interested in assisting Qortal marketing efforts, we have right now a Discord server for that. We can share the link to that. Anyone's able to jump into that. If you don't use Discord, fine, that's cool. We will be able to do all of this on top of Qortal very soon. And yeah, I will be publishing all announcements and everything else, all of the videos that we do here and everywhere else, on top of QDN as soon as QApps goes live. So I will be using that for everything, primary location for everything. So yeah, that's going to be absolutely awesome. The gateway authentication is going to be completed too. I'm not sure if that's going to be completed immediately with the initial launch of QApps, but it is there already with a warning that tells you when you access through the gateway that authentication is not there. So I'm not sure if that means that it's going to be there immediately or not, but That is going to be a thing for sure. So you will be able to access Q apps through a gateway, get an anonymous Qortal account created and assigned to your session, use it, publish comments, whatever you want, then download that file with that account and import it into a node once you get one set up. So that's going to be really cool. It'll allow anyone to make use of things on top of Qortal without even having to create an account. They literally just click a link. So that's going to be huge, I think, as far as getting people's attention and getting the functionality out there. It'll also be able to allow access from mobile devices. So we won't have to have light nodes and actual mobile Qortal for people to use Q apps. So that'll be cool. I think really we need to put a lot more focus on marketing from the point of Q apps launch on the mainnet. That is going to be the next thing. So I have personally been kind of just holding off, not really doing a ton of stuff yet, because I knew that people need to see functionality, right? They need to be able to see what they can do with the platform. And me telling them all day long it'll be possible in the future doesn't mean anything, right? So I think that we are almost to that point now, and I'm really, really stoked about it. Yeah, anyone who's been following us for a while now will remember that we've been talking about this for like 2 years. So it's almost here, guys. We're almost to that point, and I can't wait until the think tank meeting when it's live and I get to go, oh, it's live. But yeah, let's see. Someone asked a question: is it possible to use Qortal for wrapping or tokenizing other cryptocurrency? So the question shouldn't be is it possible. The question should be, do we want to do stuff like this? It's absolutely possible. However, we have the quote unquote asset system disabled on Qortal, so assets cannot be created. Now, what I was considering is a couple different things. In the longer term future, the ability to launch a Qortal chain with its own minting rules and starting it legitimately from block zero, just like Qortal started, having your own separate chain that can either run with or without Qortal. I want that to be an option in the longer term future, but in the immediate future, it is possible to create assets on top of Qortal's chain. Now, I was thinking that maybe in certain scenarios, that could be a thing that could be voted on to allow whatever asset to be created for whatever reason, as long as the creation of that asset is done in a completely legitimate fashion, which means that the person creating it does not get a massive stack of the asset given to them. It has to be created and distributed in a legitimate fashion. If it was used for some sort of wrapping, I don't know, because then we would also have to build the asset market and have, those trades would be very fast. And that's why they do the wrapping that they do on Ethereum, so that they can actually trade things quickly, right? But I don't think it's really a great plan to do it, because then also, we have to be concerned about people who wrap these coins, and then what happens if there are issues with that, and you know what I mean? And a lot of the time, some of that stuff has some sort of centralized component to it, where the gateway itself that's doing the wrapping is a centralized thing. So I don't know. I just don't see the point, really. Like, if we're going to support a coin, why don't we just support the coin like we do with all the others, right? Like, what's the point in wrapping another coin? That's my question, I guess. Is there any risk to publicly market Qortal in the sense of the government coming? I am not afraid of the government. So, I mean, I guess it's up to you to decide whether you're worried about it or not. If I was worried about that, I would have never done this in the first place, right? So, yeah, I mean, a lot of people are worried about things like that. Me? No, I'm not. I personally believe that this project was meant to be, that it was supposed to happen, and that I just happened to be the person to help it help it take place, right? So, like, I'm not concerned about those kinds of things. The platform itself is not doing anything wrong. Everything that is done on top of the platform is done by individuals. So trying to say things like, oh, Qortal is responsible for anything that happens on Qortal is not true, and we can prove that. So I am simply just not worried about it. But yeah, I don't see a reason to wrap coins, and I don't see a reason to fear the government coming after us. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, it's really up to what you guys are comfortable with, right? Like, if you are personally not comfortable with promoting Qortal to certain groups of people or whatever, then it's on you, right? Like, I wouldn't have even done this at all if I was worried about that in any sort of way, right? But yeah, absolutely, tell Qortal to talk about Qortal to everybody, right? That's what I do. So yeah. Anybody else want to talk? I've been talking forever. Somebody else talk. There we go.
I actually have a question.
Sure.
With the arrival of QApps, what kind of price increase are we looking at? Into, let's say the coin is used more often. What do you guys think could the price levels reach?
I mean, if you look at it like this, right? Look at the total amount of coins that exist on Qortal versus the total amount of coins that exist on, say, something like Ethereum. Look at the functionality that Qortal has and the way that Qortal does everything in the back end and make sure that, you know, it's way more legitimate than any other, right? Then you can look at the market cap of what these other coins have, and you can get a rough idea of what the potential market cap of Qortal could be, right? And then you can say what the market cap is divided by how many coins there are, and the total value of each coin would be that, right? I personally believe that in the relatively near future, up to $100 per coin makes total sense. That would still only put us at $500 million market cap, which is tiny in comparison to any platform that does even a fraction of what Qortal does, right? So there are some joke platforms out there with 800 billion market cap. So, like, tell me how any of this makes any sense whatsoever, right? But yeah, the potential price increase is immeasurable. Like I've said, anything that you're buying anywhere near these current prices is basically free. That's how cheap it is. So yeah. I mean, it's hard to guess when all these kinds of things are going to happen, or, you know, whatever. All you can really do is say, this is the functionality we have versus the functionality these other platforms have.
Yeah.
And their market cap is this. This is what ours could be, right? So yeah, I mean, it's hard to estimate.
So these other platforms, for example, like the first one I think of is like Solana, which is valued at like $22, couple $100 million market cap. Is it just because they did ICOs and
yes
and have centralized components to them?
Yeah, that's really it. Because people seem to think that the only way to trade currencies is on a centralized exchange, right? And so they don't understand the idea of trading in a decentralized fashion. So it takes some learning to understand why Qortal does the things the way it does, and to understand how to do it, and to actually take full control over your coins and to do things in the correct fashion, right? And yeah, so Solana has a $9 billion market cap. They have, let's see, a total circulating supply of 391,697,516. So they have quite a bit more coins than us. We only have 5.5 million coins in circulation right now, guys. And this is 3 years. And this is at the time when this is the largest amount that will ever come in, unless the vote happens over a period of 4 more years and raises it back up to 5. So the amount of coins that are going to exist in the next few years is going to be lower than it is from the last 3, right? So, I mean, if we get anywhere near that, our individual coin value is going to be a hell of a lot higher than $23. So, yeah, I mean, I could calculate it if you like, but it's really, yeah, there's really no like way that I can predict when any of this kind of stuff will happen, right? It really depends on when people understand, when the people who have the financial means or whatever to, you know, buy Litecoin or whatever other supported coin, pirate chain, and start trading into Court, right? But that we're going to have all the functionality that people need. We're going to have all the functionality that every coin has ever wished they could have, right? Done in a much better way. And so I mean, there's really no limit to the potential value. Multiple people have said that Court will be number one, like above Bitcoin kind of thing. And I can't see any reason why it wouldn't be, because Bitcoin is literally just a coin, and it keeps getting more centralized as time goes on. Like basically every other coin on the top 20 of the market cap list. So yeah, I mean, basically every other coin, honestly, because they all use proof of work or proof of stake, which in my opinion leads towards centralization. So the only one that is built to lead toward decentralization is Qortal, that I've seen anyway. So if anyone else has any others that they could suggest that are built correctly, let me know. But yeah, so it's really difficult to guess like what the price could be. And I've made a few predictions before, and it didn't play out the way I thought it was going to. But I realized it's mostly because people are stuck to these centralized exchanges. So we're not listed on a centralized exchange. They have to actually take ownership of their lives in order to trade to Court, and then they keep ownership of their lives, right? So that's the thing. Like the people are so used to allowing others to do everything for them that asking them to actually take control of their own stuff is difficult, right? So I think that's really the main reason. Yeah. So, I mean, even if we get to, well, I'll just do 100 million just for fun. So let's see. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Okay. So 100 million. And if we do that, you know, divided by whatever, let's just do it divided by 6. By 6 million. If I can make my calculator work, that'd be cool. So even if we get to 100 million market cap, which is like nothing, that doesn't even put us in the top, 200 or something, like, and that puts our coin at $16. So like,
nice.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Nice.
So
good.
like, yeah, and if we, you know, add another 0 to that, it just goes exponentially higher from there. Like, and we are only one that you could actually say was really like technically a competitor when they're really not, but it would be Ethereum or one of the other ones that has, you know, quote unquote, the ability to build applications, but they're doing it wrong, in my opinion. And so, yeah, I mean, the potential for Qortal value is astronomical, especially since like every single person can actually contribute and every single person can actually mint, and it's built in a completely decentralized fashion. Like once people realize this, it's over. Like
No, for sure. I see a huge upside to it. And
Yeah.
the Ethereum wallets are all centralized. You have to log in using a Chrome browser, you know.
Right, I know. And you're not using your own node. It's all a complete like bastardization of the space. I literally think that Ethereum was built, maybe not like, maybe some of the people didn't realize this or whatever at the beginning, but I really think that it was built to be like the anti-crypto, basically, right? Because it's now controlled by large corporations, obviously, and everything is centralized. It's like completely the opposite of what something that's claiming to be decentralized should be, right?
Yeah, totally spot on.
Yep. Right on. Anybody else have questions? All right, then I usually like to cut it off anywhere between an hour and a half, 2 hours, for the recording sake, so it doesn't go on forever. But I would be happy to sit here for a little longer if anybody wants to chat afterward. But yeah, I think I don't really have much else to say right now. It's really just about pushing QApps, getting that live. I mean, I'm hoping that it can be done by the end of the month, but I don't 100% know, right? So, but when I do know, I'll let everyone know. as always, as soon as I know like exactly when this stuff is going to be able to be live, then I'll let everyone know. I don't like putting any pressure on the devs, so I just kind of let them lead, and whenever they tell me it's ready to go, then I'll let everyone know. But we are not far, guys. Like, this is already functional on the test net. So like that means it's already done. We just are doing, finishing touches and making it pretty and so forth. So
Hello, Crow. Quick question.
yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Thank you. Hey, about the quart value, I mean, the coin itself, uh, I'm kind of wondering, the newers coming into our project. Uh, I'm assuming everyone will think, well, I just download the core and just keep minting, and that's all I'm gonna do. And if everybody does that, how the core value will increase?
I mean, if everybody does that, it won't, obviously.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
so so how so when what are the factors for the coin to
Okay.
increase in price? Yeah.
So once everyone realizes that they can build basically any application they can think of on top of a network that cannot be hacked, cannot be shut down, cannot be stopped, and is always online, right?
Right.
There's a immense amount of value to that, right? So
Right.
I can then go to, like, say, a company down the street and say, those servers that you have over there in your server room that you have to manage and you have your whole IT department to take care of and all that. Yeah, I can remove all of those for you. Build your application that runs just on your desktop computers that your company's users use, and it'll be unable to be hacked, unable to be shut down, and it'll do everything that you wanted it to do, but built in a much better way. Like, who's going to say no to that, right? Like, you can get rid of the need to run a bunch of servers all the time. You can get rid of the need to focus on IT security stuff all the time. You can completely secure your entire agency or whatever on top of Qortal, right? So yeah, I mean, the value is in what the network provides, right? And what the network provides is a plethora of functionality that no other provides, right? Not in the correct fashion. So yeah, like, obviously it's going to take people realizing this and wanting to hold a piece of the pie, as it were, right? So what I like to say to people who think of things in more traditional fashion is like, okay, you can think of Qort itself as essentially a quote unquote stock in the entire internet and everything built on top of it, right? So
Right.
it's like owning a piece of the entire world, right? So everything built on top of Qortal gives more value to Qortal itself, right? And holding Qort is holding a piece of that overall value, right? So, I mean, most people don't really fully understand the actual potential and the value of the network itself, but
Right.
it's immense, man. It's totally immeasurable
Oh, yeah.
because it can do
Right.
everything from all the financial stuff to all of the hosting stuff to, like, if you take just the value of one single application like Twitter or whatever, and that's nothing compared to what Qortal can do, right? So, and that's just one single application, like one single Q app, like Qblog, right? So, like, the value is immense. So it's really like we're gonna need some people who understand that supporting this project is not only supporting the future free world, it's also supporting every person minting Qort, and it's like a philanthropic venture at the same time, right? So you can build your application on this infrastructure, get a ton of value out of that. And you can also be philanthropic at the same time and put some value into the platform and help others who may need to sell coin to live and whatever, right? So it really is a win-win-win as long as you understand like what the potential and the functionality of the platform actually is, right?
All right. So, like, if I was 5 years old, you will tell me my products are for sale, and they need to buy them using the Qort coin, correct?
They could, yeah, or they could buy them using any other supported coin on the platform. But the value of using Qort is
Uh-huh.
that it'll also have the extra functionality of the ATs, which means that you can do automatic monthly payments. You can do automatic escrow. That's all decentralized and not controlled by anyone other than the two parties involved, right? So there's a lot of other stuff that can be done with Court that can't necessarily be done initially with the other supported coins. And, Court being the primary coin of the platform is going to be used primarily for things like the names market, name registration, all of the stuff that is inherent to Qortal only, right?
Right.
So even just the names market itself, that's going to be basically like the future of how businesses are bought and sold, or how products are owned and sold and stuff like that, right? So it's a completely new way of looking at like all like copyrights and like stuff like that, right? So you can actually have that name with all of the assets tied to it and sell it all at once. So it's like selling the domain and the entire internet presence with all of the people who follow it and everything all at once to someone else. So that's how companies are going to be bought and sold in the future and
All right.
so forth, right?
All
So
right.
there's a lot to it. Yeah.
Right. So I lost you there a little bit when you said, you said about the other coins in the platform will be used to buy. Like if I have a million R, whatever, how 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 will a Quart coin will gain value if I use R? I mean,
So yeah, again, it's really people need to focus on the value of Qortal, right? The network is what's powering all of this. So if you want to have, some investment into the actual infrastructure, that's what Court is, right? So
right,
if you're going to be trading in coins that have nothing to do with Qortal, then of course you're not going to increase the value of Court
right.
itself.
Uh-huh.
But the network is reliant upon
All
Court
right,
and reliance upon Qortal, right? So if
all
you're
right.
using something that's built on Qortal, then you would probably like to invest into the infrastructure portion to make sure that
So,
keeps
all
getting
right.
better.
So,
Yeah.
question for you: are you charging foreign coins to use your our platform, Portal?
No.
Okay. Well, that's interesting because
we
they
we
should pay
do
something.
we do everything in the most idealistic possible fashion, right?
Mm,
So, yes, this means that we're not focused on making money. If I was focused on making money, I could have taken this idea, wrapped it up, sold it to investors, and said "f everybody else," right? So
right.
it's really not about that, right? And people, like to say, "Oh, the minting is about that." No, it's
Right.
not. So
Oh,
it's really
that's
about
cool.
building a free future, right? So
Right. Right.
the
Yeah.
people who see value in that will be the
Right.
ones who buy Court because they want to
Exactly.
support the overall
Yeah.
idea. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome, bro. I mean, I see that, and that's a beautiful thing. But at the same time, we gotta be realistic in the world we live in. Well, it's a process, right?
Right. Well, that's why I have, Croatic Hardware Development, which is a company that myself, my brother, and G run, that we sell devices that are specific to running Qortal. So people can buy those from us. And we are, a for profit company. And
Right,
once we start making enough profit, we will actually be putting some of that profit directly through the Qortal market and picking up Court. Also, I plan to start, Croatic Consulting, which is a consulting company to help people build things on top of Qortal. Now, obviously, that won't be free. So people will pay to have us help them build things on top of Qortal and so forth. And the same idea applies there, where the company will donate a percentage of its profits by purchasing Court from the market and helping the price, right? So
wow.
that's the way things should be done.
Woo.
The
Yeah,
way that things are being done now is where I would have just launched an ICO, got millions up front, and then said, I don't even know if I want to, build this right now
wow.
anymore and whatever. Like, so it's nonsense. So they're like getting millions up front to build something that they could potentially build. A lot of them don't even follow through. A lot of
Wow.
these things don't even actually get to anything that's on their roadmap because they realize, oh, yeah, we have MIT developers, but they're not blockchain developers.
Wow.
So they can't even actually do this and they
Wow.
don't get very far, right? So there's a lot of stuff like there's so many projects out there that have so much on their roadmap that they don't accomplish. We do things the opposite way. We accomplish things first and then say,
Right.
okay, now it's live, right? Yeah.
Awesome.
So, yeah. I understand that doing things in the most idealistic way also means that we may not make as much quote unquote money, especially at first, right? But
Uh-huh.
when we do get value into the coin that it's actually worth,
All right.
then we will have long lasting value that's there for a reason that won't just magically go away one day, right?
Okay, bro. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Well, just I hope you have some second plan if you need to implement something to to provide for the company. Like
Yeah, uh, my
if
focus
you
is Qortal, like,
right,
and
yeah,
yeah.
it's a community, I know, but Jesus, man, I know you're a vegan and you have a lot of power and energy. I like that. Uh, you needed to do all this project. It takes a lot of time. I can see that, and hey, man, I'm glad to be here, and I really really like this. And cheers, bro. And I hope you have some time for you to take for yourself. Maybe go to Lake Tahoe and ski or something like that.
Yeah, and lately things have been, quite difficult for me
Right.
personally especially on the financial side of things because of what you're mentioning, right? Like we're
Yeah.
doing everything in the most idealistic way. It's not easy.
Yeah.
But you
Yeah.
know what? Like when we do get to the point where everything is where it should be, right? I'm not going to have to worry about quote unquote money anymore. Right. So I'm like
Yeah.
focused more on the future. Yes, right now is difficult, and it's been difficult since before launch when they killed my mining operation. That was supposed to be providing the funding that we needed to keep things going. Luckily, we had developers who believed in the platform and built it anyway, even though I was not able to pay them anything. Right. So that says something in itself. And the fact that the platform is even live to begin with is basically a miracle. And so it's, you know what? I'm just kind of, I'm letting it go as it needs to go because I realized a while ago that this platform was meant to be. If it wasn't, it would not have been this far yet, right? Like there's no way that it would have happened if it wasn't supposed to. So I'm kind of
Exactly.
just letting
Exactly.
things fall. I'm
Right.
guiding it as I can. I'm
Right.
letting people know about it. I'm trying to
Yeah.
get people to understand.
Oh
And
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
right now I
Yeah.
have some issues on the financial side, absolutely. But you know
Yeah.
what? Like it's not going to be something that lasts forever.
No. No.
And
Yeah.
I think that building things the right way, the right people will see it and they will understand and they
Right.
will
Right.
like it. Right.
No.
So
No.
yeah, yeah.
Portal is already successful, bro. It is already successful
I
for
know. I
sure.
agree. Yeah. I
Yes.
agree.
So
Yeah.
we're just transitioning to a new fields, or should I say, a new skies.
Right. Exactly.
All right, brother. Thank you very much. This was anarchy for you.
Oh, nice to talk to you.
All right, finally, huh?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, bro.
Yep. No
And
problem.
see you later. Thank you.
Yep. I see a couple questions in text. Let's see. Um, okay, so he's saying just speculation. Yeah, if you want to call having actual functionality that's there, that's usable speculation, then I guess. Let's see. VPNs will be illegal in the next 6 months. Maybe not, right? VPNs are not required for Qortal. We encrypt and chunk all the data on QDN anyway, so there's no, like, the ISPs can't see any of it anyway, so I'm not really worried about VPNs. Later, we will be using both Dandelion as far as distributing the transactions across the network, so they won't be able to determine the origination of the transaction. And we'll also be using Reticulum to actually connect, so that won't require IP addresses at all, and it will also encrypt all of the sync traffic and so forth. So that is going to happen in the future. Not worried about that. Let's see. So what if 1 terabyte files published under a name, every follower of the node of that name will always share all of the terabytes? Yes. So of course, you need to pay attention to the names that you follow and how much data they have on them to see if your node is going to be able to support that amount of data. But yes, if you follow specifically, if you follow a name, then you will have all of the data of that name on your node. So if you don't want to follow the entire name, but you still want to support things that are under that name, anything that you view by default becomes part of your node too. So you can pick and choose which things you actually have on your node, right? So if something is someone has a terabyte of data on their name, and you want to support them, but you can't support their entire name, then you just wouldn't follow them, and you would go to whatever things you want to support, just go and view them, and then you have a copy of it on your node too. So you're still supporting them, you're just not following them, right? So people will have full control over, you know, which data is on their node and available to others from their node, right? Let's see. You're okay. So quick, you are incorrect. You said currently a name is limited to 500 megabytes. That is not true. A single publish is limited to 500 megabytes. The amount of data that can be on a name is not limited. So the only limit that we actually have right now is that you can only publish one single thing of 500 megabytes. So once we have Qblog and so forth, you'll be able to publish, you know, multiple 500 megabyte posts with, you know, a video on each one or whatever, right? So no, we do not have a limit on the name itself. It's a single publish limit. It seemed like a name limit because what we can do right now is only publish a website with a single publish. So it seems like it's a name limit, but it's not. It's a single publish limit. So yeah, that will also open things up quite a bit here in the future. That's what I'm saying, like with Q apps, because then you can actually publish, you know, multiple 500 megabyte posts. And then you can also do things like, say I have a file that's bigger than 500 megabytes. I can zip it into multiple chunks and then have the people download that, right? So then they can, you know, unzip it together and it'll come back to the single file, right? So we can get around the 500 megabyte single publish limit pretty easily. And in the future, we will be raising that too. But that, again, that's a single publish limit, not a name limit. So yeah, just FYI on that one. Let's see, about the 1 terabyte shared across the network. I can see it being a potential attack point. Someone maliciously upload huge files. Okay, so they can't really do that. They could only do that for supernodes or people following their name, right? So anything that they publish, if no one's following them, it's not going to publish anywhere other than their own node. So they can't really attack anything by doing that. If they're, you know, focused on filling up supernodes, then yeah, I guess they could do that. But then that would just, you know, make it so that the supernode has to figure out which name is doing it and go ahead and block them. Then they're done, right? So I don't think that's really going to be much of a concern. You can easily block whatever name that's causing these issues, and there you go, done. No more worries. If they do it on multiple names, then you simply block multiple names. Now, in the future, we'll be able to have things like a block list, right? Where you can join a group that has a block list tied to it, and it'll automatically block all of the names that are on that list when you join that group. So you don't have to do all this stuff manually. Other people can help you in maintaining a list. And then if you join that group, you automatically block all those people. So it'll be simple. But yeah, let's see. So a website itself is limited to 500. No, the website is not limited either. It's a single publish. So yeah, it's not that the website is limited to 500 megabytes. It's that we can only publish a website in one publish right now. So that's the problem. When we have Qblog, right, you'll be able to publish multiple different posts, right? And each post can be 500 megabytes. So yeah, and you can use those posts as a website too. So it's like, I mean, yeah, it's a lot different than what people seem to think it is right now. But it's, yeah, really cool, actually. Do you know how the core auto manages when data path is full? I do not know. That's a good question. I know it will delete stuff so that it doesn't exceed the size available, but I don't know how it picks files to remove. Me either. That would be a question for Cal. I will see if I can get that answer. You can too, because we're on the dev server. I can ask him in there. Then we can let everybody know. Yeah, I don't know. I have not run into that problem yet. So we only have, 8 terabytes or whatever, or 8 gigabytes, sorry, on the QDN right now. So we're not running into that problem quite yet. Yeah. So I don't understand. I can post half of a 1 gigabyte website and then make a second publish with the other. Yeah, on Qblog. Yeah. Right now on the websites, no. That's the problem, right? That's, the quote unquote problem is that, a website has to be published in a single publish right now, right? In the future, that won't be a thing. You'll be able to publish a website in multiple chunks. But right now, the limitation is that a website has to be published at once and a single publish limit of 500 megabytes. So you can only publish a single 500 megabyte website, right? So if you're going to be using the websites, and when we launch the QApp stuff, you'll be able to cross link from one to another. So you can do, half of the website on one, half of the website on another name, until we make it so that you can do multiple publishes to a single website at once, right? So yeah. Yeah. Okay, cool. Now you get it. Nice. All right. I did my job. All right. All right. Anybody else have questions? But yeah, I mean, we're really not limited at all. There's no actual limits. The only limit comes from the way that the data is published right now, because it has to go into RAM first. And we didn't want to use more than 500 megabytes for that. So Cal is planning on changing that, so it basically streams the data, so it won't have to be all put into RAM first. But yeah, that's really the only limit, and it just makes it so that right now a single publish can only be 500 megabytes. But we will change that in the future, and there's no limit as far as the name goes. There's no limit as far as QDN itself goes. Any of that stuff, there's no limit on that. So yeah, it's really just a single publish limit that we have right now. And that will be increasing, but we're going to see how it goes first with this, and then like make changes as we need to. So if we immediately increase it to something massive and then there are issues, it'll be harder to fix. So it's easier to keep it now at the 500 meg and see how that goes, and then like increase it as time goes on. Yeah. How does Qortal plan to use a smartphone as a minting node? Okay. So yeah, you will be able to, as quick as saying here, the archive v2 is only, a few gigs, right? My phone, I don't remember how much it has, some like 512 or something. So it would easily be able to run a full node. You can actually run a full node on a phone now, but it's a little bit of an involved process to set it up. So, but what the plan is to keep going with what we're doing right now, which is making it so the UI can set up the core, then add the light node functionality bundled there. So you'll have the UI installed. It'll have all the functionality by default. Make that UI capable on a mobile, so you'll be able to do the same thing. Then you'll have the functionality of a light node, which is basically everything other than minting. Then you go to node management or whatever, and you click install full node, and it downloads it, sets it up for you, and starts running it. So then you can run a full node on whatever device you run the UI on, and you're good to go. And then you have a full node running and it's minting. So the issue with running a full node on a phone is, of course, staying synchronized, right? So if you have a phone that you're carrying around with you and you want to be minting as you're walking around, potentially that could run into some hurdles in some places, right? Like if your connection goes to shit over here or down the street, then you may fall out of sync for a little while and have to catch back up and whatever, right? But ultimately, it will be possible to mint on a mobile, and it will not take that much data at all. So I would be more worried about bandwidth, like not storage space usage, but bandwidth data. So if you have like a limit on how much data you can use total on your phone connection, that's what I would be more worried about than the storage space. So yeah. Let's see, another question. How will Qortal handle server-side scripting? Okay, so let me see the full question. How about security if it would replace a web server? Yeah, okay, so we are not focused on doing server-side stuff yet. However, let me show you. I think there is still a write-up that Cal did on the wiki that explains how it could potentially be possible. Give me a second. I'll see if I can find that. Yeah, I'll have to look for that because Cal did a write-up on how it could be possible to do server-side stuff on Qortal. I will have to find that link for you and explain it in that way because right now we are not focused on that. So It will be possible though, and there is a way to do it. There are multiple ways to do it. And what I personally think is that we aren't going to be doing server-side stuff for quite a while. So most of the things are going to need to be built in JavaScript and client-side languages if we, for the foreseeable future. And we will get to that point later, but basically everything can be built with client-side languages anyway, because we have the authentication and the database and everything else already there in the blockchain, right? So we don't really, we just have to rethink how we build certain applications. Almost everything is going to be possible without worrying about server-side stuff. So, but yeah, we can definitely do the server-side stuff, and Cal's already come up with a way to do it. I'll share that link when I find it. And yeah, it's definitely possible. It will be possible in the future. I also think that when we get to the point where we can launch separate chains from Qortal, since our chain is a SQL compatible database, you can actually do an application database that runs as the chain itself, which would be really, really cool, right? So the chain would actually be the database for the application, and then it could have an asset that's minted on top of it. So it would be really kind of a cool, unique scenario, right? So that's also possible in the future. But for now, people need to kind of just rethink the way that they're building applications. You can still do, front end and back end stuff when we have the groups tied to data. So you can have a private group that if people are in that group, they see something different when they access whatever, or they have another name with something different on it that still functions with the same app, right? So there's a lot of stuff that can be done. So it's really going to be just rethinking certain things and building applications with the available functionality now. And then when we get further down the line, we will be able to do the server-side stuff too. So yeah, killing the battery on a phone is definitely a thing if you're going to run a node all the time. But it doesn't take that much, actually. Like, it's not really that hard on devices. And phones are pretty fast these days. So I think it's really kind of less load than you would think to run Qortal. And yeah, but I overall, I agree. Like, minting on a phone is more of a novelty kind of thing. Totally possible though, and it's not like where it's a total novelty like it is with trying to mine on a phone, which is like something you'll definitely burn the hell out of your phone trying to mine on it, right? But yeah, so we actually do have the ability to run completely on mobile devices. Just like, the Raspberry Pi is actually a lesser powerful device than most people's phones. So if it can run on a Pi, it can pretty much run on anything. So yeah. Yeah, we don't have a Qortal smartphone link yet. Croatic Hardware Development does plan to eventually, either rebuild or build phones. We also plan to build our own boards for open source computers and so forth, but we are obviously not to that point yet. We need to get further along, and then things will start falling into place a little bit more easily. So. Are there going to be another Qortal OS image for the Raspberry Pi 4? Yeah, so the existing image is probably going to be basically, that's why I named it Final. We're probably going to keep up with that one and keep it going as long as we can. Then, I don't want to ask the dev to build another one right now. We need to get more value into the project. We need to, be able to offer more to the developers who are doing these kinds of things. I don't like to keep bugging them to make more things when, I can't really give them anything to do that, like when the coin value is so low. So we need to get more value into the project first, and then I can start talking about like more hardware development and so forth. So the current image still works just fine, and it has my automation scripts on it now too. And it's a pretty damn good image. So, I don't see any reason to build another one for no reason right now. I may have another one that follows the mainline Debian kernel that H put together. I may release that one as an option as well, so that the kernel updates with the main Debian kernel. But yeah, that's basically the only quote unquote issue with the existing image. But as far as I've seen, all applications are still able to update and so forth. So we've not run into a point where it's like having problems with any of that kind of stuff. The kernel should last quite a while, so I don't see any reason to change it without any actual reason to. So yeah, I think it's fine as it is, and we'll keep that one going for quite a while until more stuff starts coming together, the value of the platform starts going up, and then I can start thinking out of those constrictions that I currently have, the constraints with not having the finances to make sure that the stuff can be put together. So anyone listening who has some finances they would like to throw toward the project, you can definitely do that. That would be good. Then we can start getting more of this stuff done in a quicker fashion, right? So anyway, I think we'll probably stop the recording. If anybody else has other questions, then we can continue them or whatever. I'll stick around for a little bit if people want to stick around and talk.
Jason, last thing is, if anybody knows the Java developers, because we're looking for that big time. This is Justin speaking.
Yeah, absolutely. We're always looking for Java and JavaScript devs. The problem that I've run across is that most of them expect a salary up front without having to prove themselves or without having to do any work or anything. So that's always been like the main problem, is they basically want me to pay them to talk to them. But if you have developers who are, I guess, open-minded and are wanting to help us build something that's going to be for a better future and not specifically for them to make money right now, then yeah, it would be great to have more developers. We just need ones that'll come in and start helping and not really be totally focused on how much they're going to get for it immediately, right? So that's always been the problem I've come across, and we've had multiple developers who've come in and then not do anything or expect immediate payment or stuff like that. So if you have a dev who can look a little bit into the future of the platform and see the immense value that it has, and who has the skill necessary to assist us, please let us know. Yes.
All right, thanks.
All right. Whoever's recording, you can probably stop the recording now. And I like to keep it around 2 hours or less so that we don't like make it ridiculously long for people to watch. I'll stick around for a little bit. If anybody has any other questions, just let me know. I'm going to try to find that link so I can show the server side hosting ideas. But yeah, if anyone else has other questions, just let me know.